Hello and welcome to another video where I take a look at all of the things that the developers have been saying, talking about, responding, replying, and reacting to your comments. We take a look at all of the interesting things that they may have said over the past week and see if there's any more information that we can glean about this game that we're also incredibly hyped about. Now, to get I guess, a YouTuberism out of the way beforehand, if you would like to subscribe to the channel after watching this video, that would be pretty great. I had a look at my analytics, and 65% almost of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. And, maybe if that was to change, we would have, more subscribers, and that would be making me very happy. But anyway, let us get into the video. We are, of course, going to start, as we always do, with the Saturday building, and we get a few of them. Yet again, we are seeing a new UI for the buildings. We saw this on the Meissen Saxony dev diary on Friday, and now we're seeing it again in the Saturday building. So we have here the charcoal kiln. Charcoal is burned to heat our homes and fuel our forges. By burning the plentiful wood available to us, we can produce charcoal, which generates more heat than the wood does in its raw form. So requirements for construction masonry. Now this is the bit that I'm a little bit iffy on, because a lot of cultures when making charcoal didn't use bricks and such for their charcoal kilns, and I think one of the options for construction could be and maybe should be clay. That would make a lot of sense to me. And there's been a few comments along those lines as well. But other than that, turning wood into coal is what this building does. Requires 1,000 laborers, and maybe, like I said, maybe it should also have clay here. And this basically a 1-to-1 wood to coal is, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit efficient, right? Maybe it should be like zero point 0.6 coal for zero point 0.8 wood, maybe? I don't know. Either way, I'd like to hear your thoughts about that. Age of Absolutism, we are able to build the medical school, giving you a little bit extra life expectancy, a little bit extra plague resistance, production method of tools. Sorry, no, not tools. This is the, I guess, symbol now for just all goods in general. This used to be the symbol just for tools, and I still prefer it to the hammer and sickle. But anyway, we've got glass, we've got cloth, we've got paper, we've got iron, I believe that one is, tools, and I believe this is honey, or beeswax, I should say. Requires masonry and glass to build. With the rise of the scientific revolution, the field of medicine is making new breakthroughs and growing its methods and acquired knowledge. The medical school ensures that this knowledge is passed to generations of physicians, and it requires 200, I believe these are burgers, to work in it. And finally, we have a building from the Age of Reformation, the Supreme Court. If it is in the capital, you gain monthly development growth. And again, if in the capital, the country itself benefits by extra crown power and less distance cost to capital. So really a very, very important building. Requires wood, tools, glass, fine cloth, books, paper, and gold to have as the production method. And for construction, all the same, except we also need some ivory and some marble in there. Supervising the law of our country, the Supreme Court is the central institution to dictate and enforce our law. Very nice indeed. Let me just see if there are any dev responses. Don't believe. Oh, there is. For certain regions of culture, add the possibility to build charcoal kiln using clay. There we go. That is what I mentioned earlier. Masonry is made either from clay, stone, or wood in Project Caesar. So I guess that's the abstraction. You can make masonry with clay, and therefore clay charcoal pits are possible. There are a lot of capital-only buildings in the game. I hope the capital will get an extra building slots to accommodate them, or the capital will have a worse economy than every other city. They do, so that is good to know. But anyway, that's enough about Saturday buildings. Let us move on to Ethiopia, or I guess not Ethiopia specifically, but the Horn of Africa. We start off here. The last few Tinto Maps reviews seem to have been fairly light, and you've been posting them every week now. Are you trying to rush the map reviews a bit faster than before, or is that just that these regions we're on right now have lower priority, and reviews for places like India and China will be much more extensive? So, the answer here, I think, is quite interesting. We relocated some of the team resources in a different way based on project needs, so in the coming weeks, there'll be a faster pace of Tinto Maps feedback reviews. The feedback also varied enormously between regions in length and depth. So, I think this is interesting because, relocating some of the team's resources to do these Tinto Maps feedbacks, like, you can take that to mean pretty much anything you want. It could mean that they're trying to get these feedbacks through so that they have, it ready for an announcement, perhaps. Or it could mean that other parts of the game that these guys were working on is complete. So now they are freed up to do these. You could pretty much come to any conclusion you want, but especially this is obviously true, right? Um, Feedback for various areas, the amount of feedback that people got on, for example, the Poland dev diary or the Poland Tinto maps was absolutely gargantuan. I'm sure the Chinese Tinto maps post is also gargantuan in the amount of responses it got. Essentially because there is so much more information available than for somewhere like sub-Saharan Africa, where there is relatively less information, less written records about the time period. So especially, yeah, this is pretty obviously true. But also, yeah, I just found it pretty interesting about team reallocations. I always find that stuff kind of interesting, and come to your own conclusions about what that means. We have another map. Are Dawaro, Hidaya, Har, and Bale being vassal colored here because their natural color is too similar to that of Ethiopia, and he suggests changing it? Yeah, they were colored in on the default map mode, blending with the overlord's color. So this is them with their own country colors, not in not colored in Ethiopia's color. Wasangali and Tanade, Jesus, are vassals of Ifat, and then Ethiopia has Dawaro, Har. I think Har is actually under Ifat as well, but Dawaro and Bale, I believe, are underneath the Ethiopian Empire. Can you also post the countries with the wastelands colored in, and also with vassal names displayed? Here you can get a close-up of the region. Also notice that they need to divide up the wastelands a bit so they're colored in properly and look better in game. So this is with wastelands colored in, but wastelands are not colored in because they need to be, I guess, here especially. Like this one's not getting colored in because it's got a border with Debaya, and maybe you need to have over 50%, I believe, and then maybe this is the same situation. It could be that these wastelands are all connected, so if this one gets colored in, they all do, something like that. But yeah, splitting them up so that they get colored in properly would be very nice indeed. Of course. Can we see the dialect map? This is something we did not see in the main post. Please remember that what we call in-game dialects is more akin to that of academic linguistics calling language. So these are the languages of the area: Somali, Sudanic, Ubangian, Luo, etc., etc. Ethiopic, sorry, is much smaller than I would have expected. But cool. Political map with vassals. Again, there's so many extra maps in this. So this is the subject map of the Ethiopian Empire. So of course, Ifat, Dwaro, Bale, Inaria, and Hadia. And then if you go on just Ifat, they have Har here. I'm not sure who Har is, but then Warsangali and Tanade, as I had said. A list of to-do improvements, having the overlord and subjects portrayed with different coloring. So having the subjects of your subjects also represented. So Warsangali, Tanade, and Har if you are Ethiopia. That would be nice to see as well, for sure. Will the different animist religions have different mechanics, or are there differences in flavor? Their main impact is having pops of different religion with all the mechanical impact that has. So, for example, Ethiopia now starts with 5 different religions in the country: Miaphysitism, Sunniism, Judaism, Omo, and Wakafina. Nailed that pronunciation, by the way. Then the new religious groups, which we now call folk religions, have a common mechanical behavior but with some different flavor related to their deities. We'll explain in a future Tinto Talks. Looking forward to that one. The difference in location density between the Ethiopian highlands and the rest is astonishing. Also, why is it that only the locations in the lower Nile exist on both sides of the river? So, it's working as designed. They have never intended to have all regions use similar location densities because there are different historical, geographical, and gameplay factors conditioning this. So, taking your example, locations of Ethiopia were designed to have a density different to those of the actual Central African Republic. If we wanted to do that, we would have done the map with a Voronoi diagram and softened it, but that was not the case. The design was a handcrafted work to have the most accurate representation possible of the world in the game period starting in 1337. And I think this all goes back again to different regions of the world having more, I don't want to say importance, but more relevance to the time period, more global, relevance, and also the amount of information that we have about certain areas, about populations and such like that. So, for instance, we know an awful lot about Europe in this time period because it was all written down, and the places that are mentioned on the map are so much more dense. Whereas in so, for example, in the area of the Horn of Africa, there is relatively less. So the locations are going to be a lot less dense. And I think that is fine. I don't really have an issue with that. Um, I don't know. Maybe others do, but I am fine with it. So, are there any specific reasons why or why not you would want to add new locations? I know for some of the early ones, it was because you said they were designed very early on, but what about future ones? Does it depend on people's feedback to the original? This is, adding new locations because the Horn of Africa did not get a super many extra locations, whereas somewhere like France definitely did. It depends on various factors, including what was the state of the map when they presented it, and it includes when it was created. We were way better doing this task by the end of it than at the start. Makes sense. So, like, Scandinavia was the first place that was implemented. That would have gotten a lot of extra locations in their Tinto map review, which I actually don't think Scandinavia has had a map review yet. I'm pretty sure that's true. Scandinavia. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I don't know. I know Britain hasn't. It needs one. Wait, Scandinavia not had oh no, there we go. Scandinavia has not yet had a review. When this gets done, the amount of extra provinces we get here are going to be substantial, I believe. Um, Also, the desired outcome of each region. For example, that was what made us make a very intense location rework of Poland or Russia, an intermediate in Iberia or Morocco, and a limited one in Italy, Persia, or the Horn of Africa. Or looking to the future, the Brazilian Mata Atlantica will also have a very deep rework that is going to very much please the Brazilians who had quite a lot of problems with the Mata Atlantica wasteland. And me too, because I kind of agreed with them. Because the community clearly let us know that the design we made was not fitting their expectations. This is, I think, a big deal, right? Specifically the Mata Atlantica. But I guess when this, I will basically talk about my thoughts on this when this Tinto Map review comes up. Let's just save it for then. But for now, let us move on to the Holy Roman Empire. Of course, everyone's favorite dysfunctional family of clownery in an institution. Yeah, everyone loves the HRE. Everyone indeed. And we have some comments to not respond to read. How many imperial princes are there? There are 184 princes and 57 republics, which is kind of gargantuan. It's gargantuan. It's bloody huge. Compare that to EU4, which has like 65 or something like that, which is, quite a lot less. A heavy amount, lot less. But moving on. Why isn't Dithmarsh a peasant republic anymore? So they corrected the historical setup. There's an event turning them into a peasant republic after 1350. Very cool. It looks great. I have a small wish regarding flavour in general, though. Say France is eclipsed and being annexed by a French minor. The minor does not reform France, but occupies the same territory and is of French culture. How much of the French flavour does the minor take from France? I'm really hoping for flavoured dynamism like this. Dynamic, but cultural, religion, language, religion specific. So most of the flavor content for France is attributed to the tag. So staying as a minor tag instead of reforming France after killing it would not make it have as much flavor content. We know that some people would prefer these events to be more dynamic, but there are a couple of architectural challenges regarding this that made us decide to go this way. In any case, a bunch of starting content, such as government reforms, policies, etc., is already tied to culture groups, so the structural flavor content is already available for those countries. Makes sense. If you want French content, be the France. Sure. It's a very meaty Tinto Talks. Can imperial authority be gained or lost by selecting options in events and situations? Yes, it can. If a country changes dynasty, do you lose all dynastic power accumulated? No, you don't lose it, but your country is now ruled by a different dynasty with a different dynastic power accumulated with it, which might be higher or lower. So if you are, for example, a unknown dynasty, then changing to potentially like the Wittelsbachs or some such would maybe be good for your HRE prospects. Will the option to disband the HRE have its own requirements and flavour? Yes, there will be a way to disband it, as happened historically. Hopefully it's different to how it was done in EU4, because that was kind of ass. A beautiful mess. Is there a mechanism for members to secede or neighbouring countries to join the HRE? Yes, for both. Very nice, like that. How long will the HRE elections take? Same as EU4 with immediate succession, or will there be a possibility for interregnums? So they're resolved immediately after the death of the former emperor if there is a majority. If there isn't, though, there is an interregnum until there is a majority. I like this. This is different from EU4. Very much a fan of that. Are there any big reforms possible to reshape how the HRE functions, like trying to make a universal empire of Francia, Germania, Italia, and Slovenia, like Otto III wanted, with large swathes of new land being introduced at once, including some of them getting an elevated position right away? So there are some things based on historical situations. For example, the policies that possible in the power of the Holy Roman Emperor law. So we get Holy Roman figurehead Kaisertum, which is probably like Erbkaisertum in EU4, which made everyone your vassal, improved imperial authority, outlawing internal warfare, and Renovatio Imperii, which is everyone stops being my vassal and I form into the HRE, which has been confirmed as that's the way that it works here too. You are going to be able to reform a single country, Holy Roman Empire, with this policy, which is very cool. Does the state that gets elected as emperor get a rank change, or is it represented through separate mechanics? So, the country that gets elected as emperor keeps the same country rank, which is different from EU4. But they do get benefits from it, like getting a bonus for their great power calculation. In case you unify the HRE after passing the Renovatio Imperii policy, the new HRE country will be empire rank logically. Fair enough. Very interesting, though, that this is working differently to how EU4 is, where country becomes HRE. Doesn't matter how big you are now empire rank. If these are the new rules, and we'll open it up to see this is what he means here, being a member provides, can't become empire, kingdom, duchy, etc. Then how can the Kingdom of Bohemia and the Bavarian duchies exist? It would seem logical to me that the states would not be able to change their rank on their own, but rather, once they meet the conditions, they would ask the emperor to grant them a rank in Greece. Yep, nope, that's it. Good job, Inzano, you absolutely nailed it. And I really like the way that this works, right? Instead of, oh, I'm an elector, so I could become a kingdom, it's, I fulfill the requirements, let me ask the emperor if I can be this thing. And I think that is a much more flavorful way of going about it. And I think really will probably help multiplayer a lot more as well. I think that's going to be good for it. But anyway, that is enough about the Holy Roman Empire, and we'll go on to talk about... No, we won't. I've got more Holy Roman Empire stuff. My apologies. Just ignore all the things that I just said. I saw Catholicism is a religious law. Is it possible to switch it, or do we have to wait until the European Wars of Religion for that to become possible? You have to wait until the Reformation to change it. It also only supports Christian confessions, otherwise the empire wouldn't be holy. So you can't switch it to being a Sunni, or I guess in this case, Hindu Holy Roman Empire. but you may be able to make it orthodox, which would be very cool. What does the Forbidden Unjustified Wars cover? Is it just no CBs? I think wars in HRE should be mostly succession based because there wasn't really any time HRE princes attacked each other for land until the 18th century. So the only wars allowed under Forbidden Unjustified Wars are proper CB wars, which I don't know. I feel like that's the majority of wars that we declare anyway. Even if we get a claim, that would that not be a proper CB? Does a claim war not count? I don't know. And finally, for this, looks great, but does the Emperor get the manpower for himself, like in EU4? No army of the Holy Roman Empire representation. So right now, they abstract the Imperial Army by giving the manpower buff to the Emperor, which I also think is pretty cool. But anyway, as I was saying before, moving on to the Saxony dev diary, we have a couple of things here to look at as well. Starting off with this one. So forming Saxony is just waiting for the Landsberg Countess, rather than her husband, to sell their lands to us, or do we need to acquire more territory for that? Also, do we need to change the Prince Elector status to something else to be able to form Saxony, or do we need to get the Prince Elector status to be able to form Saxony? The tooltip is a bit confusing. So after annexing Landsberg and getting the Elector status, which in 1337 is held by another Saxony, the Saxe-Wittenberg, then you get to form Saxony. For other countries, you need to be of Saxon culture, be an elector, and have a certain percentage, so 25% at the moment, in the Lower Saxony and Upper Saxony areas. So you can form it if you are these things as well. It's not only for the country of Meissen. How do you get the electorate? So you either have to convince the emperor to give you an electorship. It's easier if one of the electorates disappears. But of course, you can also wait and vote for the electorships to be expanded, which is cool. Also, there is a Landgrave government reform as well, which is awesome. And then finally, that's it. That was the actual finally. I said I only had a couple of things to look at there, and that's it. So, I think we learned quite a bit here today, and if you agree with me, then maybe hit a like button. If you want to see more of these kinds of videos where I have a look at the the things that Tinto have been saying, then hit the subscribe button so you get notified when I make another video, because that's basically all my channel is right now. But until next time, which will be on Monday, I believe, we have another Tinto Maps review. I will see you in the next one. Toodaloo, bye-bye.